My beloved brothers and sisters, there are moments in life when everything becomes heavy without warning. Doors that once opened easily suddenly refuse to move. People you trusted change without explanation. Your heart feels overwhelmed, your path feels uncertain, and your soul begins to wonder why life has shifted so dramatically. But hidden beneath the storm is a truth many people never recognize. Right before a major blessing arrives, life does not get easier. It gets louder. The world around you becomes a battlefield. Your emotions intensify. Your patience is stretched. Your faith is shaken. Your strength is tested in ways you never expected. And these are not random hardships. These are the 7 invisible tests that appear only when something extraordinary is coming toward you. When your life is about to change, the test always comes before the blessing. Always. When every plan starts delaying for no reason, the first invisible test appears when everything in your life begins to move slower than before, and you find yourself trapped in a strange season where progress becomes almost impossible. You try to finish something, yet obstacles appear out of nowhere. You make plans, but they stretch longer than they should. Situations that once felt simple now require energy you never had to use before, and you start to wonder why your efforts are not producing the results you hoped for. This painful, confusing slowdown is not a failure, and it is not a punishment. It is a silent preparation that many people misinterpret because they only look at the surface of their struggles. When life delays you, it is removing hidden impatience, hidden fears, hidden weaknesses, and hidden doubts that would have harmed your blessing if it arrived too quickly. Delay is like a spiritual workshop that you cannot see but can only feel, where you are being refined without your permission and strengthened without your awareness. The pause is never empty. Every slow moment is polishing your heart, disciplining your emotions, and teaching you endurance that will be essential when something greater enters your life. A blessing that comes before you are ready can destroy your peace, but a blessing that arrives after this divine delay becomes a source of stability, growth, and gratitude. This slowdown is the universe telling you that change is coming, but it must arrive at the right time, in the right form, and with the right strength inside you. You are not being held back, you are being aligned. You are not stuck, you are being positioned. You are not forgotten. You are being prepared so deeply that when the blessing finally reaches you, you will understand that every frustrating moment, every slow step, and every blocked path was actually guiding you towards something far better than what you originally planned. Delay is not life closing its doors. It is life building a stronger door for something far greater to enter. The second invisible test arrives quietly, and it often hurts the most because it affects the heart more than anything else. It is the moment when you begin to notice your circle getting smaller, your relationships shifting, and people you once relied on slowly pulling away from your life. Conversations feel different, energy feels different, and the comfort you once felt with certain individuals begins to fade without any clear reason. You may try to hold on, you may try to understand what is happening, and you may even blame yourself for the distance growing between you and the people you love. But what you are experiencing is not rejection, it is realignment. There are phases in life where the divine plan requires you to be removed from certain environments, certain friendships, certain influences, and certain energies that are no longer meant to walk with you into the next chapter of your journey. When your circle shrinks, it is not because you are unworthy, unimportant, or unloved. It is because the path ahead of you contains blessings, responsibilities, and spiritual openings that cannot be shared with everyone who was present in your past. Some people carry mindsets that would block your growth. Some carry jealousy that would contaminate your peace. Some carry habits that would weaken your faith. And some carry wounds that would drain your strength until you have nothing left for the blessing that is coming. This shrinking of your circle is one of the deepest forms of protection. It removes noise before clarity, distraction before elevation, and unnecessary attachments before a major breakthrough. People leaving your life is often a sign that your soul is being lifted to a higher place where only those aligned with your future can stay. Many times, the blessing meant for you requires a quieter environment, purer company, and a cleaner emotional space than what you currently have. If certain people remained, they would damage the blessing before it even arrived. The separation you feel now is actually the space being created for something better, something healthier, and something far more aligned with who you are becoming. You may not understand it in the moment, and you may even feel lonely during this period of transition, but loneliness in spiritual growth is never emptiness, it is refinement. It is the silence in which your heart becomes stronger, your mind becomes clearer, and your faith becomes more unshakable. Your circle becomes smaller, not because your life is collapsing, but because your life is rising to a level where only the right souls are allowed to stay. And once your blessing arrives, you will look back and realize that every person who left, every relationship that faded, and every connection that dissolved was actually making room for something far greater than what you lost. When an unexplained sadness settles in your heart, the third invisible test arrives in the form of a quiet emotional heaviness that does not come from a specific event or a clear problem, yet it weighs on your heart as if you are carrying a burden too heavy for words. You wake up feeling emotionally tired even when your life seems normal on the outside. You go through your day trying to smile, trying to stay productive, trying to keep yourself together, but deep inside there is an ache you cannot explain, a heaviness that follows you everywhere you go, a quiet sadness that settles deep within your chest and refuses to leave. This sadness makes you feel disconnected from the world, disconnected from your own joy, and at times even disconnected from yourself. Many people misinterpret this heaviness as weakness or failure, but spiritually, this unexplained sadness is often a sign that your heart is being cleansed in preparation for something bigger. Before a major blessing arrives, the heart must soften. And softness rarely comes through comfort. It comes through emotional pressure, through moments that force you to slow down, reflect, and reconnect with the parts of yourself you may have ignored for years. Sadness is not always a sign of breaking down. Sometimes it is the emotional doorway through which strength enters. It is the pressure that pushes out the emotional dust that has settled inside your heart over time. This sadness is also a signal that your soul is outgrowing its current environment. What once satisfied you no longer feels meaningful. What once excited you no longer brings fulfillment. What once felt enough now feels small for who you are becoming. Your heart is expanding, your soul is stretching, and your inner world is preparing for a blessing that requires a deeper level of emotional maturity. When your inner self changes, your feelings naturally shift. And sadness is often the first indicator that something inside you is transforming. During this test, you may find yourself remembering moments from your past, reflecting on your mistakes, thinking about your relationships, and questioning your purpose with more intensity than before. This is not emotional confusion, it is emotional alignment. Your sadness is peeling away distractions, ego, and emotional clutter so your blessing can enter a purified and receptive heart. Blessings do not thrive in hearts that are numb or disconnected. They thrive in hearts that have felt deeply, healed deeply, and understood deeply. Although this sadness feels lonely, it is one of the most sacred tests because it brings you closer to the truth of who you are. It creates stillness in your soul, clarity in your mind, and depth in your character. It forces you to pause, breathe, reflect, and return to the core of your being. And when the blessing finally arrives, you will realize that if your heart had not gone through this emotional cleansing, you would not have been able to carry the blessing with the gratitude, wisdom, and awareness it truly deserves. The fourth invisible test arrives when your entire life begins to feel like a continuous examination of your patience. It is not just one thing going wrong. It is many small and large challenges arriving at the same time, all demanding strength, control, and emotional discipline. You may find yourself dealing with delays in your goals, conflicts in your relationships, pressure at work, unexpected responsibilities, sudden changes, and uncertainty about the future, all happening at once, as if life intentionally decided to test every part of you simultaneously. This overwhelming phase makes you feel drained, stretched, and pushed far beyond what you thought you could handle. During this period, you may feel as though the world is asking too much of you. You wake up tired, You go through the day with a heavy heart, and even the smallest task feels like a mountain you must climb repeatedly. You keep trying to stay calm, trying to maintain faith, trying to remain grateful, but deep inside you begin to wonder how much longer you can hold everything together. You start questioning whether you are strong enough to carry the weight you are facing. And this inner struggle becomes one of the most intense emotional battles of your life. What many people do not realize is that this overwhelming demand for patience is not a random wave of chaos. It is a carefully designed spiritual strengthening. Life increases pressure right before a blessing because the blessing you are about to receive requires a stronger, wiser, and more disciplined version of you. Patience is not built during easy times. It is forged in the fire of difficulty, where your emotions are tested, your reactions are challenged, and your character is shaped into something more mature and resilient. Only through this intense pressure does your inner foundation become solid enough to carry the weight of a major blessing without collapsing. This phase of life is similar to the moment before a plant breaks through the soil. The pressure above it is greatest right before it rises. It resembles the final minutes of the night, which are the darkest just before the first light of dawn appears. In the same way, when everything in your life demands patience at once, it is not a sign that your blessing is distant, it is a sign that your blessing is close, and you are being prepared to hold it with wisdom instead of fear, with clarity instead of confusion, and with steadiness instead of impulsiveness. The exhaustion you feel during this test has a purpose. It strips away your ego, removes the illusion of control, and teaches your heart how to surrender without losing hope. It shows you that patience is not about waiting quietly, it is about trusting deeply. It is about staying grounded when everything tries to shake you, rising again when your spirit feels heavy, and holding on even when the path becomes unclear. This test is not meant to break you, even though it feels like it might. It is meant to shape you into someone who can handle the blessing with gratitude, humility, and emotional strength. And when the blessing finally comes, and you will realize that every moment of exhaustion, every tear you held back, every pressure you endured, and every test of patience you survived was perfectly preparing you for a chapter of your life that would have overwhelmed the old version of you. The fifth invisible test appears in a way most people never expect. It arrives not as hardship, not as sadness, not as loss, but as the quiet return of old temptations you believed you had already defeated. It happens when you suddenly feel drawn back toward habits you worked so hard to escape, toward sins you promised you would never revisit, toward people from your past who once weakened your heart, and toward distractions that once kept your soul from growing. These temptations come back with surprising strength, often at the exact moment when you feel emotionally tired, spiritually vulnerable, or mentally overwhelmed. This return is not a coincidence, it is a spiritual checkpoint. Before a major blessing enters your life, you are confronted with the shadows of your past one more time, not to punish you, but to see whether you have truly outgrown the version of yourself that once held you back. It is easy to turn away from temptation when life is stable and your heart feels strong. The real test is whether you can still turn away when everything else in your life is heavy, when patience is stretched thin, when sadness lingers in your chest, and when loneliness tries to convince you to return to what once harmed you. This is the battlefield where your new future and your old self collide. During this test, you may feel confused about why the past is knocking on your door again. You may ask yourself why old desires suddenly feel alive, why old behaviors feel strangely tempting, or why the things you left behind seem to be calling your name once more. But understand this deeply: when your blessing is near, the path becomes narrow. The soul must be cleaned from things that could poison the blessing. Your heart must be checked for loyalty. Your strength must be examined. Your intentions must be purified. What returns is not meant for you to fall into, it is meant for you to rise above. This test reveals who you truly are when no one is watching. It exposes the internal weaknesses that must be healed before the next chapter of your life begins. Every temptation you overcome becomes a shield of protection around your blessing. Every moment you choose discipline over desire becomes a brick in the foundation of your new life. Every time you turn away, you prove that you are not defined by who you used to be, but by who you are determined to become. And if you slip during this test, do not let shame convince you that you have failed. A slip is not a fall, and a fall is not the end. What matters is that you rise with clarity, humility, and a stronger heart than before. The test is not designed to expose your flaws. It is designed to expose your potential. It separates your past from your future and prepares your soul to receive blessings without self-sabotage. When the blessing finally arrives, you will understand why this test appeared when it did. You will see that the return of temptation was not meant to destroy you, but to elevate you, not to weaken you, but to strengthen you, not to shame you, but to shape you. This test ensures that when your blessing reaches you, you are standing tall, clear-minded, and spiritually anchored, ready to protect it, appreciate it, and grow through it. The sixth invisible test is one of the hardest to understand because it strikes at the foundation of your sense of stability. It is the moment when life begins to take away things you believed would always remain with you, people you trusted, opportunities you depended on, routines that shaped your comfort, or plans you held onto for years. This loss does not always arrive dramatically. Sometimes it comes quietly, through slow changes that you barely notice until one day you wake up and realize that something important is no longer part of your life. Other times it arrives suddenly, shaking your world so intensely that you feel the ground beneath you shifting in ways you cannot control. This test hurts because it feels personal. It feels unfair. It feels like the universe is taking from you at the exact moment when you already feel tired and vulnerable. You may find yourself questioning why something or someone you valued had to disappear right when you needed stability the most. But the truth is that this loss is not random. It is intentional. The path toward a major blessing cannot hold everything that existed in the previous chapter of your life. Some relationships are not meant to continue. Some environments cannot support your growth. Some habits cannot coexist with your future, and some forms of comfort are too small for the person you are becoming. Loss is often misunderstood because on the surface, it looks like your world is falling apart. But spiritually, something far more profound is happening. What is being removed from your life may look valuable, but it may be blocking the space needed for something greater, healthier, and more aligned with your soul. Life removes people who would have drained your blessing, takes away opportunities that would have distracted you, and closes doors that would have led you down paths filled with regret. What feels painful now is often protection disguised as discomfort. This test reshapes your emotional landscape. It forces you to release attachments you thought were unbreakable. It teaches you that nothing in this world is truly permanent except the growth of your soul. It shows you that your identity cannot depend on roles, relationships, or accomplishments that can be taken from you at any moment. Through loss, you learn to ground yourself not in what you have, but in who you are becoming. You learn resilience, independence, and emotional strength that no comfort zone could ever teach you. During this test, you may struggle with waves of sadness, confusion, and longing. You may feel the urge to hold on tightly to what is slipping away, even when every sign indicates it is time to let go. But letting go is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the ability to trust that when life removes something, it is because it has served its purpose, taught its lesson, and completed its chapter. You are being redirected, not rejected. You are being cleared, not diminished. You are being guided toward a version of life that requires more space, more clarity, and more emotional freedom than your current attachments allow. When the blessing finally reaches you, you will look back and understand why certain things had to leave. You will realize that if they had stayed, they would have limited your growth, drained your energy, confused your direction, or softened your strength. Loss is not the end of your story. It is the intentional removal of what cannot survive in the world you are stepping into. It is the preparation for a life that is bigger than what you planned and more beautiful than what you expected. The seventh invisible test arrives at the moment when your entire world feels like it is tightening around you, when your heart is carrying more weight than ever before, and when every part of your life seems to be collapsing at the exact same time. It is that phase where nothing makes sense anymore, where you cannot see any sign of progress, where every plan falls apart the moment you try to fix it, and where hope feels like a small fading light buried beneath layers of fear, exhaustion, uncertainty, and emotional pressure. This is the point where you look at yourself and see someone fighting battles no one else can feel, someone trying to keep moving forward even though every step feels heavier than the last. During this test, you may feel as though life has cornered you. You may experience moments of deep confusion where you no longer understand your path, your purpose, or the reason behind your suffering. You may find yourself questioning everything you once believed you understood. Your faith feels shaken, your patience feels thin, your mind feels tired, and your body feels drained. The world around you seems to be moving faster while you remain stuck in place, overwhelmed by responsibilities, fears, memories, and unanswered prayers. It becomes difficult to remain strong when nothing appears to be working in your favor. What many people do not realize is that this overwhelming darkness is not a sign of distance from the blessing, but a sign of closeness to it. Right before a major breakthrough, life does not become easy, it becomes intense. The pressure increases, the emotional storms grow stronger, and the tests become heavier because you are standing at the edge of a transformation that requires every ounce of strength you possess. This darkness is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to strip away the final layers of doubt, fear, attachment, ego, and emotional clutter that would weaken you once the blessing arrives. This test mirrors the last moments of the night, which always feel the coldest and darkest right before the sun rises. It resembles the silence before a storm breaks, the tension before a seed bursts through the soil, and the stillness before the tide shifts. The hardest moment in any journey is always the one that comes right before everything changes, and this spiritual truth repeats itself in every soul that rises through hardship. You are not sinking, you are being positioned. You are not being broken, you are being sharpened. You are not being abandoned, you are being prepared for something so powerful that your current self must be transformed to receive it. In this phase, your emotions may fluctuate intensely. You may have moments where you feel strong and moments where you feel completely overwhelmed. You may cry quietly at night because the weight feels too heavy to carry alone. You may wake up with a heart that feels bruised from the battles of the previous day. These feelings do not mean you are weak, they mean you are growing. Growth has always required pressure, evolution has always required discomfort, and elevation has always demanded surrender. When life pushes you to your limit, it is because your limit is about to expand. What you must understand is that this darkness has a purpose. It builds resilience that comfort could never teach you. It deepens your gratitude in ways success never could. It strengthens your character in places where ease would have left you fragile. It prepares your soul to hold a blessing not temporarily, but permanently. This test is the final stretch of the journey, the emotional purification that clears the path for a blessing that is already written for you, already chosen for you, and already on its way toward you. And when the breakthrough finally arrives, you will look back at this phase of your life with a kind of respect you cannot feel right now. You will understand that the darkness was not a sign of failure. It was the shadow cast by the blessing approaching you. You will realize that every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of exhaustion, and every silent prayer whispered from a trembling heart was shaping the strength you needed to step into a chapter that will feel nothing like the struggle you are living through today. This is the test that signals your blessing is near, so close that life begins to shake everything inside you to prepare you for a transformation that will change your story forever. My beloved brothers and sisters, if you have reached this point, then know that every difficulty you are facing, every moment of confusion you carry, every delay, every loss, every sadness, every test of patience, every temptation, and every storm that has shaken your life is not a sign that you are forgotten. It is a sign that you are being shaped for something greater than you imagine. Blessings do not descend on a heart unprepared. They arrive through a journey that strengthens you emotionally, mentally, and spiritually until you become the person capable of holding what you once prayed for. You are not walking a meaningless path. You are not suffering without purpose. You are not being tested randomly. You are moving through a sequence of invisible preparations that millions of people fail to recognize until the blessing finally appears. And when it does, you will look back at this chapter of your life with a depth of understanding that you cannot feel today. You will realize that the delays protected you, The losses purified you, the sadness softened you, the temptations tested you, the pressure molded you, and the darkness transformed you. Every moment you chose to hold on when it would have been easier to give up became a witness for you. Every tear you shed in silence became part of your growth. Every heartbeat that carried pain became a step closer to your breakthrough. Nothing was wasted, nothing was ignored, nothing was unseen. You have been moving toward your blessing this entire time, even on the days when you felt lost, especially on the days when you felt lost. So breathe and allow your heart to rest. Your story is still unfolding. Your blessing is still being arranged. Your path is still being written with wisdom far greater than anything you could design for yourself. And when the moment finally arrives, you will feel an overwhelming peace wash over your soul as you realize that every struggle you survived was secretly guiding you toward a chapter that will feel lighter, brighter, and more beautiful than anything you have lived before. If this message touched your heart, share it with someone who might be walking through their own invisible tests. And remember, you are not alone on your journey, and what is meant for you is already on its way.